Some people are like, oh, so many descriptions, blah, 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 blah. That's the great thing. That's what Tolkien wanted. I believe this episode will help you not only read The Lord of the Rings better, but also read other stories better. The beauty of it smote his heart as he looked out of the forsaken land and hope returned to him. The thought pierced him that in the end, the shadow was only a small and passing thing. There was light and high beauty forever beyond its reach. Hello everyone, my name is Melanie and this is my podcast, Richer with a Y. Today is Sunday. I just came out of church. I just had a whole cup of coffee, so I have all my energies up and I am happy, and it's a bright day finally. It has been dark and sad and cold for so long. I was wearing a Sunday dress in the Sunday for church and that was so sweet. So I am just with all my energies and all my happiness on me. It is hard to record, guys. It is hard to record when you're a student, when you work, and when you have roommates. Well, I have a roommate and a housemate. So it's hard to have a quiet house. It's hard. I usually cannot record. But today, one of my roommates is working, so I left church a little bit earlier and I ran here to record this video. And my other housemate, I don't know where she is. She might be in her room, but at least she's not in my room. So we can do this. The house is quiet. The world is bright. And this is great. I am very happy to be back. Yes, this is a topic that really excites me, so I cannot wait to share what I have for you guys today. The first thing about this video, well, you can see me, I am surrounded with all my big heroes, well, with my big hero that is Tolkien, but a lot of his writings. I am surrounded by them, and I am in love with these books. I am in love with them. I commend them to you, all of them. Well, this is just the series of The Lord of the Rings. I'm missing Silmarillion. I do have it somewhere. This is a book called The Monsters and the Critics and other essays of C.S. Tolkien. And in here he has two of his best essays that are on fairies and stories and Beowulf, but the other ones are also very good. And then this one are all his letters, or the majority of his letters, all organized and in the time that they were written or sent. So great book, love it. So here are all my commendations. I'm gonna be using all this in my video today. Something that you need to know is that though I am gonna talk sometimes directly to you and it's gonna come from my heart, I have this written, and it's because I wrote it. I wrote it last semester for a class, and it took me weeks to write it, and then it took me hours to organize it in a better way for a podcast. I don't want to miss any of it. So if you see me reading, I am reading. If it looks like I'm reading, it's because I am, and it's okay. I'm gonna be very interactive too, so I'm gonna bring in other thoughts that I'm gonna be having, and I'm gonna explain things better. But yeah, if you see me like that I look this way, it's because there's a computer there and I'm just gonna see what the computer says. So that's the first thing. It's gonna be probably some reading there and some like jumping in and blah blah blah. Okay, I actually went and got Silmarillion just because I want to have it and that you can see that it exists. So I'm just gonna like put this little guy here. I'm gonna make reference to that book too. And there's one other book that I'm gonna make reference to, and is The Evolution of Man by C.S. Lewis. This podcast, this whole episode is about Tolkien, but I will probably make reference to this book just for you to know that you should get this book too. It's great. Okay, let's start. The reason why I have all these books is because I recently took a class on Tolkien in school where we read several of his letters and essays, and of course his main work, The Lord of the Rings. At the end of the class, we had to write an essay about what was that thing which we liked the most. Like, what was like a hidden treasure that we found in Tolkien. It was the hardest assignment ever because there was so much I had learned. Those months, Tolkien became literally my best friend. I feel like he was like walking with me and we were chatting, especially with his letters. He was like opening the doors of his mind to me. He taught me the value of fantasy. He showed me how he thought and how he understood and how I could understand stories better. There was so much I could have written on for that class. However, there was one thing that really touched my heart. It was what I want to bring today to you guys. It is Tolkien's understanding and use of beauty in The Lord of the Rings. I read them 3 times in 3 months. All these books, The Lord of the Rings. Well, The Silmarillion only once. It was actually a little harder to read. And what impacted me the most of the whole book was the use of beauty and Tolkien's understanding of it. So I wrote a paper on it, and this is what I'm bringing to you. I believe this episode will help you not only read The Lord of the Rings better, but also read other stories better and be able to look for that hidden treasure of beauty and be like conscious about what is reading doing to you. What is the beautiful thing in books doing to your soul? It will also and hopefully make you want read more, make you want to look for stories that are beautiful. And not only stories, also just paintings and drawings and sculptures and outside, like literally going outside and seeing the sunset and be like, wow, this beautiful thing, and let it sink in you and work its magic in you. So let's start with the actual paper. The idea that if a painting, a story, or a poem is objectively beautiful has lost attraction among critics and philosophers, who often put first subjective interpretations of aesthetics or beauty as like the most important thing. Now criticism is all about what you feel and way less about which are the objective reasons why something is or is not beautiful. However, despite this shift, before and after the 20th century, several thinkers maintained that the meaning of beauty is not only objective, but also indispensable for human flourishing. One prominent figure is, obviously, Tolkien. For Tolkien, beauty was not merely a superficial and subjective aspect of art or nature. He viewed it as the enchantment, and pin that word because we're gonna go back to it, capable of awakening the intellect toward truth and goodness. My point with this episode, or almost essay, is to demonstrate that for Tolkien, contemplating or experiencing beauty, especially through fantasy stories, but also through other types of art, as I said, paintings and sculptures, is essential for humans to achieve the fullest potential of their existence. That sounded very philosophical, so I'm going to explain. Don't get lost. It's a very deep episode. But basically, the crazy connection I want to make, and that I think Tolkien is making, is that there is an essential potential for you as human, and beauty, and seeing or reading this beauty, can make you reach that potential. And I'm convinced that this is what Tolkien wanted with his books, and what he got right in his books, was identifying what is the thing that humans really, really need, and how can they achieve that? He believed was through beauty. Every good story begins with a problem. For every solution offered, there must be a problem. The Lord of the Rings, for example, starts because there is a problem that needed a solution. Without Sauron and the ring, there wouldn't be an evil creature to defeat, and thus, no story to tell. If you do not think there is a disease in you, then why bother seeking a medicine? Tolkien believed there is a lack in human beings, and that is what encouraged him to write the stories he wrote. Today, we have a Sauron. This whole talking that I'm talking is about identifying who that Sauron is, and hopefully, with the help of Tolkien, defeat him using beauty. So what is the problem? What is that which contemplating beauty can help us achieve? In his letters, Tolkien claimed that the human mind is under a type of darkness that doesn't let it achieve its full potential, as I just said. He uses two predominant images to explain this. First, he says that humans suffer from a dullness that keep us in a walking dead state. An example from this is in The Lord of the Rings, specifically in the book The Two Towers. We have the Ents. If you know, you have read the books, which I think you have, if you're watching this, there's this Ent that is called Treebeard, and he was telling the hobbits, he was talking to them about the problem that the Ents were having, and he described it this way. He said, "Many of my kin are growing sleepy, going treeish. Many are half awake. They look just like trees now, and need something great to rouse them." The disease of these ants was not that of the willows, who were like Superman committing crimes and stuff, killing people. That was not the problem. The problem was that there was like a dreariness draining their lives. C.S. Lewis seems to adopt the same language when he claims that this generation, and I think this one is not in The Abolition of Man, but is in, I believe he said this in The Weight of Glory. He said that this generation is under an evil enchantment of worldliness, from which only the strongest spell that can be found can awaken it. So both C.S. Lewis and Tolkien both agree that this generation was like as if like zombies, like kind of like asleep. And just look outside. I think they said this many years ago, but I think that is even more true today. The other way in which Tolkien describes the problem that humans have is saying that men are as if they have forgotten something essential. A good example of this is Gollum, one of my favorite characters of Lord of the Rings. I love Gollum 100%. He can be evil, I don't care. I love the guy. It's just so funny. And sad, like it's a funny character, but also a very tragic character. Because you want him to be better, and he's just not. He's not safe. And by the way, just another parenthesis, I don't know if you have heard the Song of Gollum, but it's one of the saddest songs I have ever heard. Like, I was listening to it right after the movies, and I was just crying because it's so sad what happened to Gollum. But in one scene where Gandalf, I think he's talking to Frodo, and Frodo was just like, saying like, oh, Gollum is terrible, why we didn't kill him? And Gandalf was telling Frodo of when he was interrogating Gollum, and this is, I will quote, Gandalf said, "A light came through a little corner of Gollum's mind that was still his own." Okay, so there was a light in Gollum's mind that in a little corner, just a little, Gollum was completely corrupted, but there was just a little corner in Gollum's mind that was still his own. Gandalf describes this light as a light out of the past, bringing up memories of wind and trees and sun on the grass and such, and this is how we call it, forgotten things. But then the light was gone, and Gollum returned to his dark state. His mind remained darkened because of his inability to see or to remember something essential contained in those mundane things. Those mundane things are just the trees and the grass. In Tolkien's words, he needed what humans also need. And again, I'm here quoting Tolkien from On Fairy Stories. He said, a recovery, which includes return and renewal of health, a regaining of something. Here is where the role of contemplating beauty becomes relevant. What was it about the wind and the trees and sun shining on the grass that Gollum could not remember? He could truly see those things with his eyes. Like, Gollum was like the most, I don't know if intelligent is the word, but almost like he was so well on fishing and like going around and knowing the places. He was not dumb. He led Frodo till almost the last minute. Like, he knew the world and he could think. So he knew what was grass and trees and the wind. Like, what was it that he couldn't remember? He could walk around and know what a flower and a tree was. What was then the difference between that fleeting glimpse of light that shone through his mind, as Gandalf put it, and the simple knowledge of what they were in theory? Gandalf called whatever Gollum remembered forgotten things. But what are those precisely, if not just the things themselves? And there is another amazing writer, and I'm sorry, I'm piling up writers here, but he wrote my favorite philosophy book, and it's called Only the Lover Sings, and it talks about art and what it does to us as humans. So I'm gonna quote him right now. I'm gonna use him to understand Tolkien because I think he's really helpful. He never like interacted with Tolkien, but his beliefs, I think, really help us understand what is Tolkien getting to. In this book, Only the Lover Sings, Joseph Pieper describes human beings as having two significant aspects that differentiate us from all the other beings. In this case, it's not only human beings. In the case of the Lord of the Rings, it's every being that has like reasoning. So it can be, in this book, Gollum, it can be hobbits, it can be elves, it can be any like reasoning being, but obviously Joseph Pieper was talking about like human beings, which are the reasoning beings in the real world. First, he argues that humans are always striving toward the good. We're always wanting the good. Pieper states, for a man to be, to exist, means to be on the way. However, this journey is not aimless. There is a goal that guides this soul movement. It's like as if our souls are all the time moving. He doesn't say that we're always like walking and running. He means like there's something in our being, in our soul, that is always going towards something. And what guides this movement is the good. That's what Pieper says. In other words, humans are never static. You are never not wanting something, basically. You are always pursuing your perceived highest good. For example, I am right now wanting a Chick-fil-A. That would be an amazing lunch for today. So I am desiring this. Because I perceive the Chick-fil-A right now as my biggest good. This morning, my perceived biggest good was a coffee. I just wanted a coffee, and then I got a coffee. Actually, it's here. I got my coffee. So you're always going to that thing that you understand as your good. Even the most evil person is trying to perceive their greatest good. Even Sauron was perceiving the greatest good. He thought that that was the greatest good. Gollum was perceiving his greatest good. He called the ring my precious. He thought the ring was his biggest good, and that's why he pursued that. Even the Lord Ruler in Mistborn, he thinks that that's the biggest good. Like whatever he's doing, he thinks it is the biggest good. Even Hitler was perceiving the good. It was not the real good, but he thought it was. He perceived it as his good. The horrible things that he was doing, horrible things. He perceived it as the good, and that's why he didn't care about doing all this evilness, because in his mind, he's like, yeah, this is the good. And one more example is Thanos. He perceived what he was doing as the biggest good. It doesn't excuse the bad actions, because I think these people knew how bad their actions were. This just means that everything we do is because we think is gonna be the biggest good. The same happens with religion. Like when you choose a religion over another religion, it's because you think that's your biggest good. When you do not choose a religion, when you're agnostic or an atheist, it's because you think that is the biggest good. Understood the point? Yes, that's what Joseph Pieper says. We always go toward the good. That's the first aspect of humans. The second aspect of humans is that unlike most other created beings, humans, or beings with reasoning, again, as in Lord of the Rings, can perceive the transcendentals in earthly things. What in the world are transcendentals? Philosophers define transcendentals as higher things that are beyond the material things. So anything like a truth that is a universal truth, a goodness that is universal, like morality, ethical truths, are transcendental things that go beyond what we can see, beyond the material. Through reason, we can recognize the forms beneath the obvious surface. I'm quoting Pieper. Through reason, we can recognize the forms beneath the obvious surface of that still discernible common reality. So there's a discernible common reality that is, let me say, my coffee. This is a discernible common reality, but we can go beyond the common reality. A flower outside is the common reality, but we go beyond that common reality. A dog who sees a flower, he doesn't see something more than just a flower in the flower. He just it's something that either he can eat or he cannot eat. That's it. Or it's in his way. For us, we see way more than that. And again, whoever has read Mistborn knows that a flower is not just a flower. There's more there. So we as humans can perceive goodness and beauty and morality behind the normal reality with our reasoning. Then we pursue the good that we think that is in this common thing. Therefore, the forgotten things that so fleetingly passed through Gollum's mind, and that for a short moment brought back light and hope of restoration, can be understood as the transcendental goodness and truth that lie hidden in beauties of the world. Pieper in this book calls them archetypes or primordial forms, is other ways in which philosophers call these realities, or the core of all things, the hidden ultimate reason of the living universe. For Christians, or even people with any other religion that has a God, they see these core realities as the existence of this God and his creating being in our reality. Again, in Mistborn is a great example. I hope I don't spoil anything, but I don't think so. You can like go forward if you are scared, but I don't think I'm gonna spoil anything. But in Mistborn, you have like this normal world, right? But there were gods above this normal universe. And the reality is that people in the book could see were not simply, oh, there's a mist or there's whatever. No, the mist existed there because there was something beyond it. So that is the core of all things. That is what we mean, what Tolkien meant, what Joseph Pieper meant with these forgotten things, these things that lie hidden between the beauties of the world. I think these archetypes are most likely what Tolkien is getting at with Varda. And if you have read the Silmarillion, you know about this character, Varda, which was supremely beautiful. And the reason that Tolkien gives in this book is that she was that beautiful because the light of the creator of the universe shone through her. In her beauty, the answer to transcendental questions such as who is the creator, what is the most desirable good, and what is the reason for it all? What is there something rather than nothing? All those like philosophical questions could be answered not in her, in Varda, but in the light that was through her of the creator. And she's not the only example given by Tolkien. Every other small beauty, and again I'm quoting him here, he says it in one of his letters here, he says that the relation of ordinary life, breathing, eating, working, begetting, and quest, sacrifice, causes, and the longing for elves and sheer beauty in the Lord of the Rings is pointing to this reality. All those little things, all those little beauties, the little beauties of Sam. He just wanted to go back to his garden. All these tiny beauties were pointing to the reality. Behind the beauty, there is something deeper. Going back then, the problem that we have, the Sauron of our stories, according to Tolkien, is that just as Gollum, we have lost the ability to see, to truly see goodness and truth. Those things have been forgotten and need to be recovered from, and this is the way that Tolkien calls this, another way that he talks about our problem, a drab blur of familiarity that does not allow us to see things as we are or were meant to see them. We see hundreds of roses, and just like Gollum, ignore the goodness, truth, and beauty behind them. How can we recover our intended sight? The way of re-enchanting, and I told you to grab the word enchantment. Well, yes, it's because that's Tolkien's favorite word to what stories do to us. He says that the way of re-enchanting the heart is by contemplating beauty through arts. Tolkien believed that through the artistic recreation of ordinary reality in stories, he could re-enchant his readers. This is specifically on in his essay on fairies and stories. He was saying that the realm of fairy story is wide and deep and high and filled with many things. All manner of beasts and birds are found there. Shoreless seas and stars uncounted. Beauty that is, in our word, an enchantment. In other words, all those details in his books, some people are like, oh, so many descriptions, blah, 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 blah. That's the great thing. That's what Tolkien wanted. That is why his books are great, because all of those details. But he did it very intentionally. All those details in his books that so much delight the reader. Stone and wood and iron, this is quoting Tolkien still on Fairy and Story. Tree and grass, house and fire, bread and wine. That seems like just such a common thing. That's not that deep. Well, it was. They had the purpose of causing a wonder, of being like a guardian in front of a door that is trying to make you remember a forgotten face. An instance of this beauty in The Lord of the Rings is Gandalf's appearance in the Battle of Helm's Deep. And again, if you are listening to this, I hope you don't care about spoilers or you have read these books, which you have to read them, so read them. But this is a spoiler. I don't know if you remember, there's this battle in Helm's Deep. Aragorn was losing against Saruman's troops. He had no hope for victory. Like, things were as bad as they could be. Only darkness and inescapable doom. But, and I quote, suddenly, upon a ridge appeared a rider, clad in white, shining in the rising sun. When everything seemed lost, Gandalf, I quote again, strode tall and strong. His shield was red. As he came to the valley's brink, he set to his lips a great black horn, and boom, blew a ringing blast. "Behold the White Rider!" cried Aragorn. "Gandalf is come again." This is such a beautiful moment that I get emotional. That's just so, I don't know, you probably have experienced it. You probably experienced it in the movies too, because it's in the movies. But it's just so happy. It's just like when you have lost all hope, Gandalf appears, and it's just so beautiful. His appearance is a clear moment of what Tolkien calls eucatastrophe. He describes it as a sudden happy turn in a story. It is the reverse of events, that escaping the inescapable. Tolkien claims that the reason why a eucatastrophe moment pierces you with joy and brings you to tears is because, and I'm gonna again quote him, he says this in one of his letters, he describes this like eucatastrophe. He says, "It is a sudden glimpse," what happened to Gollum? A sudden glimpse of truth where your whole nature, your whole like heart, chained in material cause and effect. So you are chained, like your heart is like as if the only thing it thinks about is just a material cause and effect. There's nothing beyond it. There's nothing. You are living your life, you're going to work, you're doing your stuff, you're like driving your car and fixing your problems and dealing with your kids and with your spouse and just like doing life, and it just seems so flat, so material. There's nothing beyond this life. But when you experience a moment like Gandalf's moment there is a sudden glimpse of truth, as if you were Gollum, and all of a sudden there's like psh, and he says, "The chain of death feels a sudden relief, as if a major limb out of joint had suddenly snapped back. Your mind perceives that this is indeed how things really do work in the great world for which our nature was made." That's why we love fantasy stories. That's why we still read these books even though we are old and should be doing other stuff. We love them because they make a limb that was like out of place snap back into place and reminds us that we were created for something greater than this life. In other words, what moves the heart of both the characters in the story and the readers when we read the story is that sudden glimpse of truth that this happy turn brings. What makes us cry with the ending of Mistborn, oh my goodness, I cry so much, with that piercing joy when, spoilers, okay, I'm not gonna say them, but like with Lord of the Rings, when Gandalf appeared, that joy is the reminder that though we live under the curse of death in this world, we truly were created for another great world. The contemplation of beauty leads to eucatastrophe, because it reveals those transcendental truths that remind us of the paradise that awaits us. Contemplating beauty creates that eucatastrophe that Tolkien is talking about. It is like a perception of how things truly work. Another very important scene in The Lord of the Rings, which shows the effect of beauty really, really well, is when Sam and Frodo are resting before their final lap to Mount Doom. They are almost hopeless. Frodo is destroyed, physically destroyed, emotionally destroyed. They don't have any hope. They are just like, this is just a doom, and they're going to Mount Doom. So Frodo goes to sleep, and Sam is just taking the first guard, and he's sitting, and he sees something in the sky. And I will try to read this without crying, because it says, "There, peeping among the cloud rack, above a dark tor high up in the mountains, Sam saw a white star twinkle for a while. The beauty of it smote his heart as he looked out of the forsaken land." So he has the forsaken land in front of him, and he looks up to this twinkling white star, and hope returned to him. For like a shaft, clear and cold, the thought pierced him that in the end, the shadow was only a small and passing thing. There was light and high beauty forever beyond its reach. what smote Sam's heart and pierced him in the middle of the dark and forsaken land, what made hope return to him, was the beauty of the star. The hope that beauty brought was not like wishful thinking. You know, when you're like, well, I'm resigned, whatever, like, let's just do it because we might die. That's how he was thinking before. But this beauty changed this. He was convinced. It was not defiance. It was like, oh, I'm gonna die, so heck, let's go. No, he was convinced. It was a reality, a realization, a certainty that light and high beauty had the ultimate victory. Shadow was forever beyond beauty's reach. Sam had a catastrophe in that moment. Not through a major victory or a change of fortune, but by beholding the sudden glimpse of truth. That perception of how things really do work in our future world. When that star shone, his own fate, even his master's, ceased to trouble him. A limb out of joint had suddenly snapped back and he was relieved. This is when we read stories, when we read these books, what we see there is that hope. It's like we're looking at that star that Sam looked at, and hope can return to us because we are reminded that at the end, what has a victory is beauty. Beauty will win. In the midst of death, beauty will win. And it's not just beauty for the sake of beauty. Is the goodness and the truth that are behind that beauty. Beauty, someone puts it this way. Her name is like Lisa Countras, I think. She writes a lot about Tolkien, and she says that according to Tolkien, beauty is the face of goodness and truth. It is what reveals goodness and truth to us. When we see this beauty, it is almost like the light of goodness and truth. And we are reminded of these transcendental truths that we have forgotten. We have forgotten them. We, because of so much, which has good things but has so many bad things, the modern philosophers just decided that everything that exists is only this material world. There's nothing spiritual, nothing greater than this. That's a very depressing way of living. In the Evolution of Man, C.S. Lewis says that this generation, they have like left their chest, left the transcendental realities, and it's only your body that matters. It's only this like pure materialistic reality. And this book, he's denouncing this, and he's just saying like, no, that's wrong, that's not true, there's so much more. And we become depressed and sad when we just live under the just materialistic world. But beauty in stories can wake us up to it. And that's what my best friend here Tolkien over and over and over talks about. Beauty is the splendor of the transcendence, a glimpse on earth of that for which we were made. Humans were created for this goodness. That is why Tolkien dedicates his life to waking us up through enchantment to the reality of the world that one day those who love it will reach. When beauty shines like Gandalf on the top of that hill, or like the white star in the middle of their darkest night, a major limb out of joint snaps back in our hearts because we are reminded of who we truly are and what is that which we truly want. We want that goodness. It will be different for different people. Like for me as a Christian, I think that the ultimate reality is in God, the God of the Christian Bible. And I think that's just like definite that's what it is. But it doesn't have to be only that. Like even if you are not a Christian or you have another religion, I would say that still look for these truths in these books. Look for all the pieces of truth that beauty can give you. It all starts by contemplating this beauty. It all starts by reading stories and going to the museum and reflecting on this. I said this was going to help you read other stories. Well, now when you go to these stories, pay attention to what the writers are doing regarding beauty. what are they are bringing your attention to. Brandon Sanderson is such a great example. I loved it in his books, and how they are making a difference between utilitarianism, I don't know how to say that, utilitarianism, whatever, using things, and the other part of just enjoying the beauty in the thing, and not necessarily to use it for something, but like how to enjoy it better. Also, as a writer yourself, make sure to put these elements in your stories, these eucatastrophes, these turns of events, these beauties that give a hope that is not just like defiance, but a hope that is firm in the truth of there is victory. We're gonna win. Maybe I will die. We have characters that die, but they know that at the end, there is victory beyond their death. And that's something that your readers, I as a reader, that is full of truth, and we recognize that truth when we read it, and we just are touched and changed by that. And when you are reading a book, make sure to look for that in your readings and remember, like, this is this your catastrophe? Is this like changing and making that like a bone snap into place in my heart? What is the truth behind this beauty? Is this author really doing it well? When they are doing it well, dwell in it, enjoy it, drink from it. You'll see it's gonna just change your way of seeing things. And I think Tolkien got it so right. I think that's what he was trying to do, and how well he did it. How perfectly he demonstrated what it is to contemplate beauty and what it is to fix the human heart. Let's defeat the Sauron of our generation that is just like zombies. Let's wake up and use stories to do it. This is everything for today. Whew. I don't know if it was too philosophical, but please leave it in the comments. What do you think? What was a scene in a book that made you almost cry, and why? And maybe try to connect it to the contemplation of beauty. And yeah, let me know if this is a type of episodes that you like and you enjoy and you feel like it's gonna help you grow better as a person, because I love discussions. I love having my co-hosts here. We will very soon have a next video with them, and also I have some collabs with other YouTubers that I'm excited about, but I don't want to stop doing this type of videos where I'm able to just write very well something and then present it to you in a golden plate. Because I do want you and myself to just grow in our way of understanding books and going very deep into them and contemplating the beauty that they have. As Lord of the Rings that has so much, like we could just do a whole podcast of episodes and episodes and episodes on just everything that the Lord of the Ring has. But thank you so much for today. Now I have to go. I'll go and have lunch with some friends. So I don't think it's gonna be Chick-fil-A, but it's gonna be food. And I'm happy for this Sunday. I hope you are enjoying it. This will come up on a Monday, probably tomorrow. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it and you like it. And if you like it, like it. And if you haven't subscribed, stay around and let's just keep growing this corner of YouTube together. Bye.